My first guest of the evening is Mrs. Delaware 1983, Valerie Martin. She was recently crowned at the Radisson Hotel where the pageant was held on Sunday, March 27th. I was a master of ceremonies there, so I had a pretty good seat for the whole pageant. Now Valerie, she's employed by the A.I. DuPont Institute as a child life therapist, programming activities for children and teenagers, as well as preparing them emotionally for surgery. She is married to Jeff Martin. He's an attorney in media. Let's meet her now, Valerie Martin. Hello, Valerie. Welcome to Focus Delaware.
Hello, Bob.
Valerie, I see you two in the mornings with your husband working out at the health club, running around the track, and working up a sweat together. You seem to enjoy yourselves.
Sure do. Working with teenagers, I keep late hours, and Jeff and I are able to get out of bed at 6 and go running. Jeff usually drags me out of bed, but I manage to get there.
That's nice you can do something like that together. What motivated you to get involved and enter the pageant?
Well, Bob, working at the Institute with teenagers, I've been challenged to develop a program in the community for teenagers, and I'm hoping to promote that. My concern was that parents might be uneasy about sending their young teenagers to a neighbor's house, and I wanted to develop a positive community awareness. And I saw an ad in the paper for the Mrs. Delaware pageant, and I thought I'd give it a try.
Now, you want to develop this teen program. What's it all about? How does it work?
Well, the teen program encompasses two essential aspects. One is the opportunity for teenagers to have opportunities for accomplishment, and the other is to develop a better self-esteem and self-awareness. So I'll be having creative arts and crafts, gourmet cooking projects, fitness fix, as well as looking into some of the issues that teenagers struggle with and help them to solve some of those.
Sounds like an industrious endeavor. I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Why don't we see some of the highlights of the Mrs. Delaware pageant right now?
Okay, it was an exciting event.
Okay, we're going to see this. Who's this?
This is Carol Manita. She was the reigning Mrs. Delaware 1982. Very warm person. Delaware was very lucky to have Carol as their Mrs. Delaware. Carol is wearing the state costume, which we're required to feature at the Mrs. America pageant, and Carol's costume features many aspects of Delaware. And these are the judges. And some of the judges were Rhea Mendel from Washington, Paul Ferencz, Val Kuchar, and Jean Kuchar. These are, of course, some of the crown and the cap. Okay, these are the bathing beauties.
Yes, a very popular part of the competition, of course.
I was quite surprised, Bob, when you were giving our measurements out. I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, it's all part of the pageant. Of course, the bathing suit's only one of the pageant parts. There's two other sections. Of course, there's the gown and then the interview.
Yes, and the judges interviewed us earlier as well to give us, to find out a little bit more about our interests. And these are the husbands got out there, showed a little leg at some point.
I enjoyed interviewing them. I put them on the hot spot. I didn't think they expected to be up there as contestants being interviewed. But they all seemed to take it in good spirits.
Unfortunately, I was backstage at this point, so I wasn't able to see all the fun that they had.
You missed it. Now, this next fellow coming up all the way to the right. Who is this fellow here, all the way to the right in the coat and tie? That was your husband.
That was my husband.
And here we're panning the beauties again. Now, how many contestants?
And here we're in our gowns.
How many contestants were there this year?
There were 10 finalists.
I see.
Okay, and they're crowning Mrs. Photogenic Sandra Burkett from Newark. Sandra has her own business in Newark. And this is Mrs. Congeniality, Joyce Bladen of Newark. Quite a fun gal.
The three semifinalists, I see. And there you are.
Yes, the middle semifinalist was Nancy Vernon, and she's from Wilmington.
And I'm nervously trying to open the envelope here. I remember that.
It was a tense moment.
Yes, it was.
I think the audience is feeling the tension right here.
But I finally was able to get your name out, and we'll see your reaction here coming up as you find out that you've been elected Mrs. Delaware 1983.
Quite a surprise. The other women were very, very lovely.
Ah.
And this is Carol.
What's that in your eyes? Are those tears?
I was a little teary-eyed at that point.
I enjoyed that little kiss there. And there's your trophy.
Carol has been such a dear to me. There's been a lot of work getting ready for the pageant and for the Mrs. America pageant, and Carol's been very helpful.
Did you have a little trouble with that crown at that point?
Yeah, I have about 5 bobby pins in now. There were 2 at the time, and as I was walking down the aisle, it was getting a little loose.
How did you feel at that moment when you were walking down?
Well, very proud to represent the state of Delaware. That's a new awareness for me, having this title.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, now you're preparing for the Mrs. America pageant, which is coming up April 29th, and where will that be?
That will be in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Hilton.
And now, what are you doing to prepare, and how do you feel about it?
Well, one of the most important things is developing the state costume. And that incorporates features of the state. I'll be representing the state as the first state and the Diamond State. There's been much time. It's been very busy, and I've had to do a lot of work trying to get sponsors to support me and the gown, and it's been a busy time. Mm-hmm. But I've met very many interesting people so far, and it's been quite an honor. I really have enjoyed it.
What are your future goals?
Well, I'm hoping that this teen program can be nationally recognized and also be promoted in other creative homes nationwide. I think there's other women in their homes that could open their doors to teenagers. And I hope that the manual that I'm preparing will enable them to do that.
Well, you should be applauded for your efforts. Thanks for coming on Focus Delaware.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. This has been Valerie Martin, Mrs. Delaware 1983, another Delawarean that we can